Good afternoon, good evening. This is Lisa from Question the Narrative, and I'm here today on Thursday, October the 19th in 2023 with Honey Golden again, with a good opportunity to speak. Honey, how are you? I think it's morning where you are still. How are you this morning?
It is, it's about 10 o'clock and I'm doing really good. Still a little scratchy in the voice, but I'm doing really good. I'm happy to be home and vacation was beautiful. So
Oh, your photos with those beautiful trees, just,
yeah.
the colors. Was that, I mean, whatever it was, the photographs were just stunning. Maybe those trees were showing off a little bit because they were particularly beautiful in those photos.
They really were, and it almost looked like the sky wasn't really real behind them. Like the sparkle that came through was kind of otherworldly, like in those pictures. So I don't know, Samsung phone. So
Wow. That's what it
yeah.
is, because a friend of mine got the Samsung phone and I'm on the 12 iPhone still, and the photographs, they're good photographs, but the color difference in the Samsung is night and day. That's really good. And this is not a plug for Samsung because I don't have a Samsung on there,
Yeah.
but they were spectacular. But those trees, I don't know. I think she's also showing off for us to say this is how beautiful the trees are. But it looked like an amazing, amazing trip.
It was. Everything was gorgeous, and a lot of communication happened with Earth and the trees. And remember, the trees are like a conduit, you know, they're filled with light in there and consciousness. So if you can sit with the trees, like it's a really good thing to do.
That's amazing, because I'm down here in the southern part of Italy in a region called Puglia, which is the heel of the boot. And
Mhm.
here is where the olive trees are. And that was actually the reason that brought me here, is that the olive trees were being hit by a blight. And it's a lot of the, you could just see that they weren't really dead. And there was this narrative about what was killing them. There was another virus. Isn't that amazing? Another virus.
Yeah.
And so, but you're right, but the trees were very clear. They're like, yeah, no, this is really important. And some of the olive trees, honey, are thousands of years old. So in the northern part of this region, you have 500-year-olds, 1,000-year-olds, 3,000-year-olds, 4,000-year-old olive
Wow.
trees. Yeah, so really interesting. So you had this spectacular thing. Well, welcome back. And it sounded like you guys did some beautiful, you had fun, but you also connected in and, did some work for humanity, which is wonderful. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. Thank you for your
Sure.
service. So let's start with actually something here that I think, well, many things are happening right now. And we'll talk about this, but one that's interesting, sort of in the question perspective about, doesn't this give us a little bit of information? There's information going around about how the Rothschilds have had an auction of many of their personal items on Christie's.
Mhm.
And not only is there an interesting thing that the Rothschilds would potentially put something up there that are personal, which means that maybe they need money or they had to, but then there was some also association, I don't know if you've heard this thing, connection with the Balfour agreements, that they no longer had this control and the lease to the land of Israel. So these are all very things that are interested. First of all, do the Rothschilds need the money?
The Rothschilds don't really exist anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay. So tell us a little bit of that. So is that a transition? Did they ever exist here? What were
They
they? Were they
really
here?
did exist, and there may be a few of them left, but the whole idea of their power and the way they were doing stuff, and they're not here. And the figureheads at the top of that family are gone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you have them, they're no longer here. So what was the reason that they're selling? What's going on with the sale from
I
Christie's?
think the White Hats are liquidating their stuff. I think they've taken their stuff away from them. I get 3 years ago. So they've had their stuff for 3 years, and they've been, the whole crimes against humanity thing. They've been tried and convicted of that. And basically, they don't really have any of their stuff anymore. I feel like they're pretty poor, most of them that are left.
Oh, now that's something that no one would ever have thought about. Okay, so let's also continue along this subject. Were they the owners of the deed to Israel that was in the Balfour Agreement?
I think they were on paper, but people above them were actually the ones that were, Illuminati above. The ones that we never hear about.
Mm-hmm.
I
That
think
are they
they're in
on the
control.
earth plane or are they not on the earth plane? The ones that are above the Rothschild.
They're gone. And I feel
Mhm.
like some of the ETs actually took care of them. So it wasn't just the white hats taking
Mhm.
care of them. I feel like they couldn't even see all of them.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So of all this property and all this wealth, so one of the things that's going around about the Rothschilds is that they actually perfected this financial instrument, which was a trust. And what they did is that they would take out a life insurance policy for
Mhm.
every member that was born into the family, and they would borrow against it in the trust. And then when the life insurance policy paid out, they put it back in there, but it was a lending out from the trust. And it was the circular motion that they never lost any money in the trust. And they were always getting money back in through the life insurance part of it. So where is all of that money now?
Most of it, there's a few hidden things that they haven't found yet, I'm getting, but most of it is with the white hats. So they have the money. The money will get returned. I feel like it's going to be used for the new foundational things that humanity needs. Because the straw man will actually become a person's individual trust.
This trust idea is so important, isn't it?
It's so big because the banks actually borrow that money. So this one blew my mind.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So the banks borrow money when you go in, you're going to get a new house, right? You're going to apply for a mortgage. The banks borrow your own money from your strawman account, and then they get you to pay it back with interest.
It sounds like exactly like the trust that the Rothschilds set up. It's like, well, in order for us to make money, we've got to have you to give us money, and you're constantly going and giving more and more money, and we fund everything that they've done.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
welcome.
the thing is, they've
you're not.
never, yeah, it's crazy. And they've never forgotten about any of the stuff that they've been doing. So they have all the knowledge, the historical knowledge that we have been deprived of. So they just keep doing the naughty stuff in the background. And they're like, ooh, how can we get them this time? What do we do with the humans to keep them in their corral?
Wow, that makes so much, and it makes so much sense because of this. I mean, they perpetrated this debt-based system, which meant that they could create money out of nothing, and the nothingness was all the things that we kept on paying to them, and that the banks then would have to loan out to make money, which is how you account for money in the banking system. And in Italy, they won't lend you out unless you put money in. You're like, well, the whole point of it is I don't need the loan. If I have my money, I don't need the loan from you. And it's like, it's a perpetual, never ending process. Fascinating.
So that they're getting it 3 times in Italy.
Yeah, they are. They really are. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that has something to do with another large institution here in this country, which we'll talk about later on that. Well, so that's really interesting. So the Rothschilds don't exist on this earth plane anymore. All of their money has been confiscated back, which means that they were really the founders of this central banking debt-based model, which is now, as we know, falling apart. That whole concept is falling apart, which couldn't be better news. But let's go back to this thing I was tethering to, the Balfour Agreement and the association that the Rothschilds were the ones who were really pushing forward on the creation of Israel post-World War II. With the demise of the Rothschild financial clout, is that what's happening in Israel right now? Is it this transition of ownership, or do you see any association with what's going on with the Rothschilds?
they're actually freeing Israel completely. I feel like what they were trying to do is turn it kind of demonic. So they were doing their best to undermine any kind of beautiful, divine thing that was going on there. And they were poisoning the minds of the people. Some of the behaviors were really weird that were going on there. Some of the rituals were really not okay, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then also I got an email, how there's been 3 of these auctions.
Wow.
And so it's somebody from the UK, and their mansion has been empty. So I do think that there's some of them that are younger that are still here, but either they're in some kind of hiding or they're miserable, or, but there's no power left.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So that it goes back to what Trump signed in an executive order that said that anybody who was considered to do crimes against humanity, their assets would be confiscated. Is that what happened to the Rothschild money?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Fantastic.
And so not only they were also controlled, I think. And they were being controlled by people outside of the ice wall that didn't want to be in here with us, with the misery that was going on. So they were controlled as well. And those little, what are they called? Vril? Those little crab-like yucky creatures. So the Black Eye Club, I think that was a big part of how they controlled those people. So they were under control as well. They just had a lot nicer stuff.
Interesting. So Israel for last, that's what we've heard with the Q boards. That's what we're seeing right now, a massive transition. You're seeing what's happening in Israel is obviously it's real. People, we all know whether it's for the reason they told us, meaning it's a false flag, or not, it's still harming people right now. And it's a tragedy of putting people against each other, which is
not
really
as many as we would think.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think some of it is false and quite a bit of it is false. But just like that hospital, it's been shown to still be intact.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of there's no way to know exactly what's real and what's not over there, because there's so much smoke and mirrors going on. And that's actually how they've behaved in the past, and how the Illuminati learned how to behave from this distorted view of, we'll just fool them.
Yeah, and it's super easy to do that because we trust, because that's who we trust. We give trust because we are trusting of each other, and that's our nature, and they take advantage of that, which is interesting. All of these false flags come around yet another time when the planet is supposed to experience the transition away from the central banking model, the debt-based system, and going to this, whether you believe it's the term Nasara Jasara or not, it's the transition away from the debt-based system. Is that where we are right now, honey? Are we at a point to transition out of that debt-based central banking system?
Yeah. I think if you think about politics, and think about the movie The Wizard of Oz, and they're in the Emerald City, which is a whole nother thing. Like, that's expensive comms, right? But they're in the Emerald City, and this little guy's back in there, that old guy doing all the switches and stuff, and he's got the curtain. That curtain is about to be pulled. And I'm not, the only one talking about this. There's a lot of people talking about this. But you can see that it's in the works, and it's our consciousness that will speed it up.
This is really important. You're saying your consciousness. Is there, there's more. Well, you're starting to see things. So let's talk about the physical manifestations of this transition. What about the US debt clock and the way you're tethering debt and the value of the US dollar to silver, the US dollar to gold? And now just recently, you can no longer convert anything on Binance, the crypto platform, into the USD, only a stable coin or another crypto. Is that the visible proof of things changing with the current system?
Yeah, I get yes. And BRICS will be something, that's the foundation of it. But what you're saying, and I hadn't heard of that yet, I'm getting a yes on that. So that's a big calm. Huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then there's been a lot of other stuff that's happened in the interim. Like, we don't really have to pay taxes. Like, people know that at this point, but some people are still paying them. But you can go in and file for tax exempt. And I guess there's some new law that's made it banking doesn't have to pay taxes anymore. I think it was banking, and then there was the Federal Reserve was covered, and some people say it's been torn down. Just weird things all point to that being ready. But as far as like my intuition, I get that the whole thing is completely ready, has been ready for a long time. And the foundation of it is ready. So really, it's just getting this nonsense out of the way.
Yeah.
And I think most of us feel that it's just been baked way too long at this point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what everybody did. What you're seeing there is, which is really funny, is that there are visual and physical manifestations of this transition. However, it depends on your consciousness level as to whether you see them. And even if you see them, you appreciate that they are a shift, because a lot of it could be that cognitive dissonance, which says that I see that, but that's okay. I'm just going to put that over to the side. I'm busy. That's not going to make a difference. But then all of a sudden something switches in your consciousness and you start to say, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. And that's, I think, are we on the precipice? We're at that stage where many see that right now.
We're in that place where there's enough people awakened, and there has been for a little while, that it is time for the curtain to open. So it's time for that to happen. And we've been talking about it being time for a while. And I think every time it's held back, it's either the ego of the white hats being kind of like, ooh, can they handle it yet? Like worrying. And also there is can we really handle it yet? The thing is not all the parallels will be able to handle it. Some will think that this is really scary. So if you have a total pessimist who maybe they go to the doctor every week, and they're worried about this and they're worried about that, and they're just living in fear, they may not make it through this process because they have to let go of some of that stuff in order to receive. Yeah. Because it really is about us. And that's what a lot of people don't quite get. And
that's every time someone says that, it's not, yes, the white hats are doing their certain thing, and the alliance with the, you know, the, what do we want to call them, extraterrestrials, or those who are not from this plane, or higher selves, or future selves, or higher dimension, whatever that is, they're all doing their thing. They're doing that job, and there's this global sort of war that's happened. But we are responsible for our own sovereignty, which is exactly the experience that we contracted to come down here for. And also what we were brought here as a job to do. It's a mission. I mean, many of us who are listening to this, who talk about this, we know that's our mission to do that. But it's really interesting. It's all about those levels of consciousness that we do. Now, you've mentioned a number of things that are going to be part of this transition. And I want to sort of put this in a hierarchy and see how we play around with that. You've got politics, you've got finance, you've got religion, we could say health, and then maybe the knowing that we're not the only ones in the universe. I don't want to just say aliens. Are those all going to happen at the same time? Are we going to find a disclosure of all of this information at one time, or is it going to happen in various steps? How do you see this unfolding right now?
I see it in steps. So the disclosure of the ETs, like mass, I feel like that's still in flux, and it'll probably be by parallel. So right now the parallels are kind of bumping into each other a bit, and that's so that everybody can experience what comes next, and they'll have their own perception of it. So just like you come in and you're with the family, and like Uncle Joe's like, no, it didn't happen that way, it happened this way, you know, and then the aunt, whatever, you know, somebody else is saying, no, it looked like this from my point of view, you know, or whatever. It's the same with the parallels. So it really is your perception of this event that's coming, which I think is the curtain being pulled back. And we will show you like the beginning of a video, and I'll put it below, where somebody saw what it looks like in the astral plane. And I've seen this before. I didn't see it just recently, but I've seen it before, as a group of beings that come together and they kind of make a decision. And they're not defined because they're all light, because we really are all light. So all of us are, and this may offend some people, we're all players in this game. And this is a very important game because it's the ascension, not only of humanity, but of everyone. So everyone is elevating.
Yeah, this universal ascension.
So it's important that humanity makes it as well, which they're making it. But the reason that they're making it is because they were the lowest hanging fruit. So they had the hardest time. So you're basically pulling a slave out of its environment. You know, you're saying, okay, you've been in slavery. We're going to take you out of there, and you're going to realize your true worth. And we're also going to upgrade your system in the meantime, so that you can comprehend what's happening.
You just defined Stockholm syndrome as well, like with, you know, the slaves, you know, loving the slave owners and other things. So you mentioned something, I thought that was a really important point. You said that we're all the parallels, they're shifting, they're separated in certain ways, they're separating, but we're all going to stay together for a period of time, so we experience what's coming next. Those were your words. What is coming next?
So I see it as basically the curtain is going to be pulled back, and people are going to see what politics really was. They're going to see the matrix, basically. And as the politics like basically becomes cleaned, then we're going to have the schools get cleaned, the money system come in. And then I used to think that the medical system and the government would go down at the same time. But right now, the shift I'm getting is the medical and the religious system will go down at the same time.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah, and all those can be really quick, you know.
So once one starts, then it's sort of like, you put the one domino and it makes everything else fall, but you got to start with the domino. So why the political one first?
Because people have to be able to see that there's been so much distortion and lies, and they are going to need to be able to accept that they're rebuilding, that we're rebuilding, and the rebuild will be when the money comes out. So I feel like that the politics is the trigger for the financial system. So they have to finish it. Yeah.
One of the things that's fascinating, being American, living over in Europe right now, is the perspective of how politics works. In the US, everything is about who's, the first thing you hear is like the Biden campaign's getting this, the Trump campaign's getting that. And, you got to raise money for your political figures. In Europe, they don't have it money. So it's really this money system that goes into the US political figures that you're right. So in order for everything else, the money to come down, which the US dollar, the petrodollar was that world's reserve currency, it was always about the money. And that makes sense. Money controlled those who were controlling us. And that's how they connect together, which makes so much sense. But let's go into a little bit more of the Ascension stuff and about who we are, where is everybody right now in the playing field that we'll call the earth plane of the one that we've been told, our little part of the earth plane that we're allowed to play in. We have these humans, and you talk all the time about ascension is the ascension for the human body to ascend, which is, we've never done this before in the body. We've had souls ascend, but we've never done it in the body. And the humanoid is really important. So that sort of triggers a couple of thoughts here. So first of all, we've asked this before, so let's do another little check-in. How many humans are on the part of the earth plane that we know right now?
So it's drastically reducing. But that's because of the split of the parallels. So like in our parallel, I feel like there's maybe 100,000 humans in this one parallel. Now there may be 10 parallels that are very, very similar, and they may go up gradually in how many real humans are in them. So really it depends on what parallel you're in. And then I think at the bottom, there's also like a smaller percentage as well. Like they'd have to be the person that's really in misery and they just constantly perpetuate it in their life.
Yeah.
And they don't see anything that's good. So there is an infinite amount of parallels, and we have begun to separate. We're only touching each other right now so that we can all see this event. That's
we keep saying
coming.
that seems to be a very important thing. It's got to be a collective experience, is what you're saying, for humanity.
And maybe like we're in one parallel and we might not be in the top one. Okay. But basically, let's say we are, just for whatever purposes, to understand it better.
My dog said yes. He said yes.
Yes. Like, yeah, that's nice.
Thank you, Aspen.
So anyway, in that parallel, everything feels really good. We're very happy. We're moving through our stuff. If something comes up that we know we need to deal with, it's emotional, we just go deal with it and we keep moving forward, right? But let's say 10 parallels down, that group is bigger. Maybe it's 1 million in there. And they're doing the same thing, but it's taking them a little bit longer to do those things. So maybe they need to be pushed twice to let go of a limiting belief instead of just once. So what does that mean? Like, they're still ascending and they're doing amazing, and they're not going to get really hurt by what's about to happen either. They're going to still be excited. So it really is complete perception. So if you look at maybe an abundance thing in a college class, and there's 2 kids that already have their own businesses, they're going to college, and 2 of those kids have already achieved what they're looking to have happen. They've already begun it. And then maybe 5 of them come from wealthy families, and they know that they're going to achieve it, and they have no worry because they're backed by someone. And then you have, 30 other kids who are, it's harder for them to come forward, and to varying degrees. Like, maybe one of them is like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford college next semester. But then there's everybody in between. So parallels are like that. They're perception.
And that's interesting. So you've got the parallels on there. So we're shifting apart. So we stay together for the collective human experience of this first shock. Then you have the split in the parallels, and you have a certain number of humans. But let's go into this concept going back to the NPCs again, which is the non-player characters. When we had the mud floods and they had the repopulation with the babies that were on the trains that were not things, were those babies fully human?
They had a human body, but they had like a sliver of a soul. And I got that they learned how, so the Greys learned how to break up a soul, shatter the soul. Ooh. Wow. And they could break it up into 100 pieces.
Ooh.
So what was running that little baby's body could have been 100th of a soul. So very programmable.
Right. Which is what we're seeing on the earth plane, which is that, when you look at how we as humans have that spark of divinity, we create. They did not have that creation, and they always used us to create what they needed to do. Yep. Super clever little plan that they've done, where they had an enormous group on this planet. So, whatever we say, we're 7 billion humans on this planet. Maybe you said once at 5, maybe it's even a lot less than that, given how everything has turned out. But there was a very large group on the planet that didn't have the soul, the spark of divinity, creation. And they were programmed, and they did the program. And I'm sure we know a lot of they just do the program. And we were like, oh, okay, if everybody's doing that, it must be okay. And we played along with that game, and we're creating it. And now that cycle has been broken, because now we see maybe not a whole human soul there. We don't talk about, are you not human or not, but not a whole human soul there. And we don't have to comply. And we also don't need to have everybody help us agree to it. And I think this is really important, what you're sharing with us right now. Such an important thing that we need to feel good about controlling, and not controlling, about creating our reality. I love this. This is like really, really exciting stuff.
Yeah. And what she describes, I've seen it happen, like this just hall of light bodies. And I think it would be really cool to play that now.
Let's play it. Let's play it.
So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, first I want to show this really quick. So this is the consciousness level, scale of consciousnness. And we're going beyond this purple right now in the new universe. It's going to be kind of this aqua color, but it's more of a greenish turquoise, aqua. So some, like, you know, when you look at those pictures from Bermuda and like, it's just, no, the Bahamas, and it's like that beautiful water. That's the color I'm talking about. It's a frequency.
Yeah. Just, oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Color is a frequency, but I never thought of it that places on Earth that have those colors are a frequency. Wow.
Yeah.
Nobody
So,
else got a wow out of that, but I got a wow out of that. Thank you.
so
Thank
we're
you.
moving into that frequency, and it's not a like learning universe. We're still going to be learning, but it's going to be softer. So we've had all this polarity where you have the good guy and the bad guy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're not doing that anymore. We're moving into, we know that we're one. We know we're unity. We're one being. And if somebody is being naughty, then we're just going to talk to them about why.
Yeah.
We're not going to go and retaliate against them. We may
This is
block them
so
out.
true.
We may say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to participate.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be fighting back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. I love that. So our consciousness is right. And this is really what everything is about. Every scientist that really comes down to understanding, anybody who's played around with accessing the universe through psychedelics, they all come to this conclusion that consciousness always was, always will be. And that evolution of consciousness is a sort of self-perpetuating movement that never stops in the universe, which is all about change. And you were telling me that before, honey, about how, right now we're in a position where we're being forced to make changes. And if you're open to the changes, you're going to have beautiful changes. If you fight them, what you resist persists, but it will also keep you in a very lower vibrational level.
Yeah, it's so much harder. So I've been like told, oh, all you talk about is Ascension. And I'm like, well, that's what's happening. Like, and I'm realizing more and more what Ascension is. And we have to go through changes within ourselves to be able to continue to go up and up and up on the consciousness scale. So, but I got the video. So.
All right, let's do the video. But I think that's really important, though, what you said before you play the video here about always going inside within yourself. And that always was what we were directed to do. It's like you have to go inside. And all of the things that have happened over the past 3+ years have been opportunities to go inside and to know ourselves. So
Yeah.
the way you put that in there. Great. All right, let's do this video.
Okay. So here's the video. And we're just going to get through this little commercial really fast.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with...
Really? Oh, yeah.
134. Now, before I get into the message, I would just like to explain. As I was waiting for this message to come in, I
turn the volume
saw in my mind's eye this great big auditorium.
That is all the way up.
And there were beings.
Okay, so the volume would not turn up. That was maxed. So she saw an auditorium.
Okay.
Put it below so you can go watch it. She saw an auditorium, and it was kind of like, the way I saw it was like kind of a Roman type, all made with beautiful white stone. But like a Colosseum, a massive Colosseum, and all these beings of light were the audience. And she says in the middle was a curtain, so a rounded curtain. And she saw that that curtain was about to be pulled back. So I think as a collective, we've made a decision as a group of old souls to say, we've agreed to pull back the curtain and commence with a new reality, basically. so that people actually know what's been going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That is inspiring. That is very inspiring. Yeah, because what you just said. First of all, you're right. People are saying that's all you want to talk about is ascension, or that's all we want to talk about are these spiritual things. Because you're right, it is sort of the prescient point that is happening right now. Because all of the political drama and the theater that goes along with that, all of the things about the financial world, they all come in after this whole idea of, are we willing to move through to that next step of increased consciousness, which takes all of the rest of that into the game of a theater, which is saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be so funny when we find out about the political misunderstandings, or what these shenanigans that they've been doing. And then also what they've done to us on the health side, because we know we can heal ourselves, and we know we have these technologies, and we know we have help in the world. And of course, it's not funny to anybody right now, because we haven't ascended into that level of observing these things.
Right.
And what's really, really interesting right now is that I listened to something today on a spiritual, I just felt like today, the universe just gave me beautiful, beautiful little messages. And one of this one woman who was talking. She goes, I was having a really, really terrible day. My kids literally put me into a room and said, go deal with it, Mom. And don't come out until you're better. And she goes, she finally got a message from her guides that literally said, don't worry anymore. Do not observe it and go through it, but no emotion. No emotion. And that's the trick that I think we're being put into now. Does that resonate with you, honey?
Yeah. And not only so don't attach emotion to the things that you don't like. Attach the joy and the happiness to the things you do like, because then you're inviting more in. Really, this is basic manifestation. What we're going through is we're learning how to manifest the world we want.
Okay.
So if we think about all the bad and icky things all the time, then we're giving all that attention there, and we're asking for more of them.
Yeah.
Just like if you constantly are worried about maybe your car breaking down, or money or whatever, then you're going to manifest more issues to come in. So it's manifestation is what we're doing. And we've been expanding the universe, consciousness is expanding the universe. And we've been told that for a long time. And Dolores Cannon and many other people have been divinely guided to share all kinds of stuff with us, right? But then sometimes if you go ahead and share that again, from a different perspective, people get really upset because it's actually happening right now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's really what's really hard is you can see it logically, but then to actually go through it is very different. But you're absolutely right. Dolores Cannon, I think the two most important pieces of work for me in my journey have been Dolores Cannon, the collective work that she's done, because there's so many patterns and such levels of richness. And as you go deeper into it, you understand them at a different level. And the law of one, which is we are all one. Those two pieces of work, I think, are hugely foundational for what we're going through and should bring enormous joy, because all it's saying is that we're here to experience. No experience is bad. And the label, the emotions, this is one of the few places where you have the emotions. And once you put a label to it, then you have that particular experience. But this is really the point. You're going to have an experience, and there is no good and bad. And anytime there's judgment associated with it, run away. That's not the real part of the way the universe works.
It's not. So even though we've had horrific things happen here, that's been part of the learning process. I think it went a little too far. I will say that. But it's been part of the learning process, and not only for humanity, but for the soul.
Mm.
Because the soul has also been in this polarized universe as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they've been learning through pain and, you know, lots of yucky experiences as well, and sometimes beautiful, but yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's really interesting. Well, I think we're at the end of our time here. So let's just do this. Honey, what do you think people need to hear right now this week as we are at this stage of this incredible story?
I would say don't engage too much with media, but engage enough that you have an idea of what's going on, but take care of your environment. Bring joy into your environment and know that you're okay, because we are okay. And it doesn't matter, like, if you're living in your car, then give that car some love. You know, if you're living in a mansion, give that mansion some love. Feel good in your environment because you created it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So loving it will increase the expansion of your own environment. And that's what we're about to do. So as this switches out, we're about to expand. So we have to allow ourselves to do that. You're not a small being.
Yeah.
You're watching this, you're awake and aware, and you're a big being.
Yeah.
And you're here for this human body to ascend and become its own being. So like the Pleiadians, they don't have to say, oh, I have a soul of this and of that, and I used to be Andromedan and now I'm this and now I'm that. They're actually saying, they can say, oh, I'm Pleiadian. That's my soul group. So that doesn't mean that other souls don't go and experience, but there is an actual soul group that is Pleiadian.
Interesting.
And we're creating an actual soul group that is human.
Oh, yeah. That's really exciting. So that was the mission then,
Yeah,
to create the soul group for humanity.
right.
I'm glad I joined. Are you glad?
Yeah, I'm so glad I joined. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, I mean, this is the front line. We're on the front line of this beautiful experience, this push
Yeah.
to elevate humanity.
Yeah. And that is a worthy goal. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, honey, that is a beautiful way to say. We now know our ascension mission and humanity's place in the universe. This is very, very exciting. And I love the fact that the angel story you talked about, that everybody is watching us right now, which means two things. Number one, we're the most interesting in the universe, which is very exciting. And we're going to be bored in other lifetimes, evidently. And number two, we're here. We never know when. No one can tell you when, but we're here. And that is exciting.
It
Wonderful,
is.
honey. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This is Lisa from Question the Narrative. Honey, thank you so much for their wonderful time this morning. Wishing everybody a great day and a great week. Ciao.
Bye, everybody.